Right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our weekly discussion, and I am super excited to have the opportunity to reconnect and recontribute to our happiness journey. Namely, in this weekly discussion, we are wishing to exercise the three art of change, and that is the reminder, repetition, and ritual. And by applying the three art of change, our hope is that we can have a deep learning discussion, and we are going to give ourselves the opportunity to discuss as a group the material that we have learned in our MA class, namely the 501 and the 503. 501 is the introduction to happiness studies, and the 503 is the facilitate happiness studies. And we hope that in this journey, we will be able to enrich our learning experience, and we can remind ourselves of the material and dive in much deeper. So thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for those who have joined us in the previous discussion, the previous week. We this is actually our second week, and let's get started. So for this week, we are going to dive into the first whole being principle, W1. And the first whole being principle tell us that the aim of life is and ought to be whole person well-being. So just a quick recap on happiness studies and the spiral model and what do we mean by the whole being principle. And of course, during this discussion, during this conversation, feel free to type in the chat, to interact in the chat, or you can always raise hand to share your thought or to ask any question. I would love to hear your I am, something you find interesting, actionable, and meaningful. And this week we're gonna try to follow the format of the full lecture that Tao has each week. And this week, once again, it is focused on the first whole being principle. So for happiness study, we are using the SPIRE model, which stand for spiritual well-being, physical well-being, intellectual well-being, relational well-being, and emotional well-being. So as a happiness journeyer, we are focused on elevating all five of this element. And by cultivating all five of the element, we define happiness as whole being. So whole being to me is like the sixth element out of the spiral model. And from these six elements, we have two principles for each of the element. Therefore, in the first week, in the second week of the June cohort in the certificate in happiness study, we are going to focus on the first whole being principle, which said that the aim of life is and ought to be whole person well-being. So let's go to 2.1. And again, this is open discussion, so feel free to jump in. Uh, for me right now, I'm just pretty much sharing what I find interesting in this lecture. So feel free to join me in this discussion because we will have more opportunity to see your point of view, right? What is most personal is most common, as Tao often remind us. Therefore, each of these topic, when we have an open discussion, we will understand it in a much deeper level. So each of these are the point that I would love to discuss with everyone, right? So the first one, that stand out the most to me in this lecture is the definition of happiness as whole being. And they state that the pursuit of happiness should encompass all aspects of our being, including spiritual well-being, physical well-being, intellectual well-being, relational well-being, and emotional well-being. And this holistic approach to happiness ensures a more comprehensive and fulfilling life. This is so profound to me. So if anyone would love to discuss this further, feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to jump in. But for me personally, my whole life, my entire life, is all about the pursuit of happiness. And just like many other people, I thought that the path to happiness is to go to school, get a really good grade, buy a high paying job, making good money, and then I will be happy because everything can be solved with money, right? Well, unfortunately, that is not the case when I make an observation of people around me. One of the advice that I got from my mentor in my early 20s before I decide to pick a major or focus on a field of study. And the advice that I got was my mentor said that Ben, that before you decide to choose a career path or a path in life, you should find someone who has spent a lot of years in that field of studies, the one that have the success that you want to have in life, and then you should look at his life or her life to see if that is the life that you want. And if that is the life that you want, you should definitely get into that field. And I took that advice and I make a tons of observation. And I realized that there are people who are very successful at their job, at their career. They may have a lot of money, but then they they are not really happy because their life, their happiness is not complete. They may have make a lot of money, but then they don't have enough time to spend with their family. Better yet, they don't even have enough time to spend with themselves if they needed to. And then there are people who, again, make a lot of money, very successful, but they are not very healthy, where they even have to go to the doctor weekly to have their health checkup when they need to do different type of treatment for to maintain their health. And one thing that resonated the most with me is the intellectual well-being. I love learning, and I think that is definitely one of the most rewarding area, and I wouldn't give up anything for it. But then again, I still need to work on area too. So the definition that we have learned of happiness as whole being really bring that home to me. And I would love to hear your thought on this, especially around the definition of happiness as whole being. So if if it is allowed, feel free to raise your hand and share. I can see Giovanni open his uh cam, so I wonder if you want to share some thought here before we move on to the next point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll talk a little bit about it. Yeah, I really like happiness as a whole being because it makes us as individuals think about um, each part of ourselves. You know, instead of just thinking like we're just a body. When you look at it from this lens, it shows that first, in order to spell spire, you need the spiritual first. So you need to understand who you are as a spiritual being. The nature of the spirit is basically just breath in itself. Um, then when you look at the physical aspect, intellectual, relational, and emotional, those are all outside of basically the spiritual selves that we are. So first you go inside, and then you're able to make sense of everything on the outside. Um, the reason I say like physical, I know some people are like, how's physical outside? And it's because when I think of my body, I've never personally seen my own body unless it's a mirror, unless I'm in a mirror. But if I'm, in a fun house, or if the mirror is curved, I'm not looking at my body the way that it is. I'm looking at a distorted view of my body. That doesn't mean it's mine. So the fact that I can't see my body from the physical aspect of outside of myself. I'm able to use my spirit to kind of, hone in on what I am and how does that relate to my physical sense. Um, and I kind of want to talk a little bit more about like the happiness aspect of it, because even, here in the United States, in our Declaration of Independence, which was written, I think, July 4th, 1776, it said that all individuals are endowed with certain unalienable rights. And that un unalienable just means that these are rights that cannot be taken away and cannot be given away. And then Thomas Jefferson named three things. He said life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Right. So these are things that cannot be taken from us. So the fact that our life cannot be taken from us, we think like when we die, we have no life, but that's not true. Just, the physical body, goes away, and then we continue in some other form. But what I love about happiness is that it's very individualistic. There's not one right way to define happiness. It's kind of forces us as humans to be guided by our own values and our own goals, and how we would. It's kind of like the golden rule, to treat others how you want to be treated first, but you have to treat yourself as however you want to be treated. I think a lot of people kind of mistreat themselves and treat other people, better. So I just think that happiness kind of lays a foundation that we can really take a look inside and outside to make sense of both our inner and outer worlds. So I really like this when it comes to the whole being.
Wow, awesome. I like that a lot, the inner world and the outer world. So there's definitely the relationship there. And I believe that is what the entirety of the psychology as a field is all about, to study your inner world. And despite so much time and effort of trying to understand our inner world, our psychology, we are still learning. I think there's a report that we only understand about 10% of what our brain can do. So there's definitely a mystery out there when it's come to the inner world, and I guess as well as the outer world too, because there's such a huge relationship between just people, right? So I love how you pointed out the spiritual well-being, and that is one thing that I found very, very um, exciting, because coming into this field, I expect it to be very scientific, right? And then the first thing that we learn is spiritual well-being, and I thought that was really, really strange, but at the same time, it makes perfect sense as later, later when we get to the spiritual well-being principle, we realize that it is not about religion. It is also about the meaning in life, like what brought meaning to your life. And I think that is absolutely beautiful. And I also see Teresa and Victoria turn on their cam. If you would love, if you like to, feel free to jump into this first part of the discussion of happiness as whole being. Like I think this is so important through this entire journey. And I would love to hear your thought on the definition of happiness as whole being. So,
Hi, Ben. This is great. I'm so glad I was able to jump on.
hello, hello.
See you all. Um, well, I mean, I love the spiritual part, of course, and it's not just, again, about religion. It's how you feel inside and what passion and motivation that drives you. I found this. I mean, learning about Spire was helped me to create more of a balance in my life. And I also realized that to define happiness, it's not a one size fits all definition. Everybody has their own journey and what makes them feel happy. I was trying to remember one of the videos that we had, one of the many videos that that Tal had given us with Elaine de Botton, and he was interviewing some teenager at the mall, and I can't remember, maybe one of you remember, but about how happiness for him, it was shopping. He wanted to spend money and shopping, and that's what made him excited. And it was the point to stress that, well, that was just a fleeting moment, right? That didn't last. And that shopping, that, oh, he bought all these things and it made him excited, but then the next day it wasn't, it didn't last. It wasn't a lasting happiness. And we want to have that lasting happiness. So having that whole being and having that balance together with each of the elements of the spire is what creates, our whole being. So
I love that, Teresa, and I love how you connect happiness as whole being to the third point that I have on the slideshow there, which is beyond pleasure and meaning, right? Because most people, when we think of happiness, we think of pleasure because we kind of tie that together, right?
mhm,
Materialistic lifestyle. And in happiness study, we learn that happiness encompasses more than just pleasure or even just finding meaning, right? Spiritual well-being is one of the many elements. So when we chase pleasure and when we find meaning in the thing that we do, that sounds wonderful, but it's not enough because we need to involve the balance and the integration of various dimensions of well-being. And the word that I really want to focus on and I would love to discuss uh, this many times over is the word well-being because I know Tao is the master when it's come to word choice. And I I had this question like 2 years ago, but I didn't have the opportunity to discuss it. So this is part of the reason I have this meeting so we can actually discuss it because the word well-being, if you break it down into two separate words, so there's doing well and there's being, right? So what does Tao mean when he said that happiness as whole being? So are we not whole this entire time? And when we break it down to like 5 different well-being, as in like spiritual well-being, physical well-being, intellectual well-being, relational well-being, and emotional well-being, is there like a hidden meaning that we are many beings in one body and we need to cultivate all 5 well-being in order to be whole? And it start with spiritual well-being. And this is a question that I really wanted to ask Al, but every time I see him, I forget. And I think it's important that we discuss this. I see Giovanni turn on his mic. Feel free to jump in, Giovanni.
No, I'm just thinking. You just got me thinking just now about whole being and well being. But I think that when people automatically think of well being, they leave a certain aspect out of it. I think well being for most people you know, has to do with, you know, probably emotional, you know, maybe, you know, mental, you know, and then probably physical, you know. But really, people leave out the spiritual aspect out of well-being, and I think that's why Tao changed it to whole being to include spiritual, because there's no way that anyone can find um, inner peace without the spiritual aspect of whole being, because you have to go deep inside of yourself to really say, okay, well, I'm not my body. Okay, I'm not my mind. I'm not even my thoughts, because if I know that I'm thinking, then I can't be a thought, you know? And then you just go deeper and deeper and deeper until there's like nothing. And then once you find that nothing, you figure out that you are the same with everyone, and everyone is the same. You just appear to look different, you know, from the outside. And I like what Teresa said about the fleeting, you know, pleasures and stuff like that, because I remember that video too with Debutante, and those are all necessary. I mean, the fleeting desires and the fleeting happiness, it's all necessary, because this is how we create our own suffering, and through our own suffering, we get to then say, okay, enough is enough. How do I suffer with grace? You know, let me go a little bit deeper, and you know, at a spiritual level, to really find that inner peace, something that cannot be taken away from me. And that's what I love about this, is that, you know, no matter how deep you go, you could go even deeper. So yeah, this is very fluid. It's very fluid. So
Yes,
Excellent point. Go ahead, someone. Yeah, Victoria, I believe. Go ahead, Victoria.
sorry, I just jumped in because I really like what Giovanni just mentioned about the spiritual aspect of our whole being. Because actually, spirituality is very important aspect of what makes us happy, really happy and truly happy. Because normally we only think about our pleasure, our fleeting pleasure, and we need to depend on external sources, such as we need to think, oh, I need to have a big house, I have a big car, I need to play game, I need to meet and have a attractive partner, and I need to change partner all the time so that I can fulfilling my need for novelty and new thing, and I have to travel all the time. So we keep ourselves so distracted and busy all the time. And at some point we realize that, oh, all this fleeting pleasure really do not make me truly happy. And I still feel a little bit empty, and a deep sense of emptiness and lacking or missing out something in my life. I think most of us, when we come to the age of 40 or 30 something, when we have built up our family, have a stable career, and we have some material um, uh, insurance already. So we start looking at a deeper aspect of our life, and we just realize, oh, all these things I have been through do not really make me happy. So we have to shift our attention from the external world into our inner world, and see really what is there. If we think, okay, I'm not that feeling is not me, because that feeling changes all the time. And also, I am not my thought, because I can change my thought all the time. Today I think this, and tomorrow I think that. And then also this person today is my friend. I consider them as friend, but tomorrow maybe not a friend. And vice versa, another person whom I usually consider as an enemy, I used to develop a lot of aversion and angry toward that person, but now they just become the most best friend forever. So everything changes. In this life, nothing is stable, and we just realize that we cannot rely on those external and changing and impermanent things. So we start looking inside ourselves, and we find out, okay, I'm not my feeling, I'm not my thought, I'm not all the things that I normally identify myself with. At some time I'm a mother, but another time I'm not that mother anymore. So looking deeply, we just find the true nature of ourselves, and we start learning how to love ourselves properly. And that's when SPY come into very handy and useful, because we know that we have different aspects of our life, not only physical, not only emotional, not only intellectual, not only relational, but more and most importantly is our spiritual well-being. And what is the spiritual well-being? For me, it's simple: finding meaning in life, finding the meaning of life and finding meaning in life. And in order to do so, we need to know, investigate ourselves, who I want to be and who I really am. Because as Socrates say that I know nothing. Actually, we know nothing about ourselves. All we know is we know absolutely nothing who we are and who we want to be. So that is important aspect we need to focusing on if you want to improve our spiritual well-being. And once we know about ourselves, we know that we are able, we are not our thought, we are not our feeling, we are not the person, the function that we easily identify in. We are more than that. We are connected with all beings, and we have capacity to love and to feel compassion and to be able to embrace all our pain, our guilt, all the negative aspect of ourselves, as long as we have the highest capacity to achieve whatever we want to achieve. Only when we find ourselves and we start thriving our life and we start to have an objective, a clear meaning of our life. We have found the meaning of our life. We have found who we want to be, who we really are, and who we would like to be. So this kind of thing with the SPY together, we can focus on the 5 SPY. And then, of course, sometimes it may be too much and exhausting to pursue all the things together. So for starter, we can just focus on one simple thing. Just for example, exercise, having a healthy routine. For example, nowadays, I start doing HIIT and I like it very much. And I also focus more on my relational well-being, which is my relationship that I have neglected for many, many years, just focusing on my intellectual pursuit to understand who I am and what are the big questions. I just met my loved one. I feel so guilty. I think, okay, it's time for me to heal my wound and spend time with them and do simple things and enjoy the simple happiness in my sweet moment. And I feel so happy. And then gradually I can develop other aspects of my whole well-being. So happiness for me is all about how to love yourself. Actually, love is very important. And we all love ourselves, and ourselves is the person whom we love the most. Wow, be honest, everyone is so selfish. Everyone pursue what we really want and what we really like. So just be honest to be a healthy, selfish person in the sense that be honest and be very clear about who you want to be, and then you can build up your boundary. You can focus on what you really like, focus on your strengths, and then improve your weakness, and then develop healthy boundary and relationship with other, and then go straight toward the goal that you want to be in life. So now I'm writing a book about loving ourselves, because this loving style, self-love, is so misunderstood. And people normally think, okay, really deep inside, everyone wants to love themselves. But they are afraid. They think, okay, if I love myself, if I focus on myself, I could be considered as a selfish person, which I don't like, which I feel pressure from other people. But no, don't worry. When we have a right concept of self, and you know how to embrace yourself with other people, with the well-being of others, and you realize that you are one cell in the giant living body of the world, then it's fine. And then you are in the right direction together with the SPY trans teaching, then everything will be fine. So I hope that I will make a lot of progress on my book, and I will be able to present it in a better way, so that I can, because I have difficulty in expressing myself due to my long time of contemplation and deeply withdraw myself into my inner world. So now I need to connect between my inner world and my outer world. And that I give my best gift is my book about self-love so that I could share some insight with you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Storia. Congratulations on your upcoming books. And I just want to say quickly before Giovanni jump in, is that
Still working on it. I'm still working on
yeah,
it.
it's upcoming. It's coming. So I'm glad that you started it. And I love how you say the word like five spire, because it's remind me of the this seasoning that I used to cook all the time called Five Spice. Super popular in Asian cooking, especially in Vietnam. And when you say Five Spire, I thought it was very, very clever that kind of put all five into one word. And that's definitely bring out the meaning of whole being. So I thought it was funny, but then it's like super meaningful at the same time. But go ahead, Giovanni.
No, I just want to say, yeah, congrats to you, Victoria, because I could feel her energy. I love it, because I could tell that this is somebody who has done the work and continues to do the work, and now wants to share what she learned. So, yeah, definitely congrats. The other point I wanted to make is that well-being for me seems to be more individualistic, and whole being is more interconnected with everyone else. So it's more like doing the work inside and seeing how we're related to the bigger whole, because one thing I've learned by doing the work is that, there's only one truth, but there's many paths to get to that one truth, so that's it.
Excellent point. And I love how you guys connect so flawlessly to the fourth point that I have on the slideshow, and this come very, very naturally to me as well. So the fourth point is that there's the importance of wholeness. And earlier this week, I had this conversation with my wife, Jasmine One Fan, and she started this journey with me as well. And she was so excited about the point that Tao made in this 2.1, and Tao was talking about how like when a part of your body is in pain, it affects the entire body. So let's say if you have like a small cut on your finger, even though it might be very, very insignificant to the entirety of your being, but throughout the day, it's keep bothering you. Therefore, related that to happiness as a whole, right? We need to take care of the entirety of our being, all aspect of our being, because when we neglecting one dimension of well-being, this can hinder the overall happiness and fulfillment. And I thought that was so important because there are so many unknown factor to us, right? Because prior to this program, I didn't think much about spiritual well-being. I didn't think much about emotional well-being. Not that I didn't think that it was important. It's just that over 10 years ago, I already made up my mind that I only focus on positive emotion, for example. But then I realized I didn't give myself permission to be human. I didn't look at the negative aspect of the negative emotion without knowing that behind it is the network of positive emotion that I might have missed out. So there are many more in this journey that we will discuss. But I love how you seamlessly connect everything when it's coming to whole being, as well as the importance of wholeness. So if possible, I would love to hear your thought on the importance of wholeness as well. Because for me, there are so many blind spots that I wasn't aware of. And now with the tool, with the Spire model, I start to realize where I need to work on. And in happiness study, we have the Spire check-in exercise. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this, and it's helped us become more aware of our spiritual well-being, our physical well-being, intellectual well-being, relational well-being, and emotional well-being. So if you want to share your thought on whole being prior to when you first learned about the Spire model, and then after, if there's something that you find so profound? I would love to hear that before we move on to 2.2.
Yes, I can
You want?
share. Oh, sorry.
Uh,
Giovanni, go ahead, please.
No,
Giovanni,
go
you
right ahead, Victoria. I love
oh,
listening just as much as I love talking.
all right.
okay. I love listening as well. So for me, for example, I think whole being as a Tan teaching, I think there's no other teaching more clearer than Tan's teaching about whole being. I find it fascinating, and I find he integrates all the aspect of our life from the inner world toward the outer world. And normally, I completely agree that we need to impede ourselves to see ourselves through the five aspects of our life, which is physical well-being. And first is spine. To those who are new to the HS Happiness Study Academy, so spine mean first, literally, it means some sharp and strong structure on top of every building, especially on the church and on a cathedral. We normally see the spire that pointed toward the sky. So it means that it shows us the direction toward the higher realm of our existence. That is what I understand from the meaning of the spire. And then SPY is acronym because Tan loves acronyms. So he always gives us very useful, funny, and easy to remember acronyms so that we can integrate those in our daily life. So SPIRE there's 5 letters in SPY. S stands for spiritual, right? P for physical, I for intellectual, R for relational, and E for emotional. Everyone knows that, and of course. So we need to integrate. If we can achieve inner balance. I think for me, happiness is on the question about to achieve balance, to achieve harmony in our life. So we have not only a pleasurable life, but also have a meaningful life. And it's very important because two key aspect of the spine is about finding meaning and at the same time to increase our happy pleasure feeling in our life. But normally people misunderstand that pleasure life is full of pleasure, is a happy life. And this one we need to think again because it's not true. First, we never can have all the pleasant feelings all the time. Our feeling change all the time. Just within a day, in the morning, we can be happy, but in the afternoon, we may be very sad. And in the evening, we become very depressed. So life is up and down like that, ups and down. So we need to be able to embrace all the aspects of our life, whether it's positive and negative. And one tool to help us to find the balance between the positive and negative is to find meaning in those things. We're not just experiencing them at our sensory level, but we need to use our intellectual capacity, our reasoning ability, which distinguish ourselves from animals, to understand the meaning in each and every our experience, daily experience, whether it's positive, whether it's negative, doesn't matter. It doesn't prevent me from being happy, whether I have a positive or negative feeling. That is very important lesson that I think that if we don't spend time to investigate and to contemplate, then we cannot achieve that level of happiness. We just like an animal. When we eat, we feel, oh, I have some pleasure. When I drink, I have some pleasure. But when the food is gone, when we are full, when we have no feeling wanting to drink, then we stop feeling happy. So that is very important in what is engulfed on the spy element. So meaning, pleasure is what is fundamental in the spy element, and we can focus on all the 5 elements, or we can focus if we are starting, because can always remind us that start small, but do it consistently and do it gradually. Then, because only one spy element spy, but it will affect other spy elements. For example, now I just shared that I just focus on my exercising because I've been sitting for a long time, and I think it's common for all the earth who do the office work. So we is nowadays is a lazy lifestyle. It means that our nature requires us to do exercise and to make movement. But if we neglect just this simple natural requirement of our human nature, then our spine is not going to work. So we need to include that small element inside our daily life. I don't know what for you. You may start with a spiritual element, you may start with an emotional element, you may start with the relational element, but it's up to us, and it's our sole responsibility to do our inner work and to find out what is necessary for us at this moment to start us. And at the same time, we need to understand the full spectrum of our whole being or well-being and have a clear objective toward that our life is moved through. That is the inner balance and the all the elements into balance into our life. So that's how I perceive spy, and from a practical point of view. Yeah, that's what
was well
was
said.
my
Yeah.
thinking.
Go ahead, Giovanni.
Victoria,
I
that
couldn't
was
find my
no,
unmute
that
button.
was no, that was well said. What I wanted to talk about with wholeness is just I want everybody to really think about what wholeness means, right? So when something whole, it just means that there's one of one thing, right? So the way that I see it, the way that I comprehend it is the foundation of all creation, right? So everything that has already been created all came from someone's mind. Okay. So I just want to put that out there. So the foundation of this creating world, because it's still creating with our thoughts right now, is the one mind. Okay. So the one creator, whether you call it source, whether you call it God, whether you call it whatever you call it, cosmic consciousness, it is a one whole mind that only had one thought and then split up into many aspects of itself, because the one mind only has one desire, and that desire of the mind is to create the idea of many perspectives of itself. Okay. So when you understand that, you see the value of us trying to figure out wholeness, because we're trying to get happy, we're trying to find inner peace, and each of us knows that what we really want is to go back home. Whatever home feels like to you, home is that one mind. So the way I see it is that, creation is life. It's always here. When we call it death, some people call it dissolution or transition or something like that, and all that is basically the desire of the mind to return back what it created, so it can continue knowing more, so it can continue creating better. So I just think that wholeness from a spiritual aspect, you just have to understand that we are all we have different minds, right? But all those different minds are the same perspective of the one mind, and that's what wholeness is we're all just missing pieces of the whole trying to come back together as one.
Wow, beautiful, Giovanni. And to your point, I would like to tell you guys a story of a friends, of our in this community. I'm not gonna say name, but sometime in the future, if you hear his story, you will know. But he is a very successful businessman. He have a pretty sizable information technology company, and he have office all over the world. So pretty much he is very successful. He has a lot of money, and he live very comfortably. But he tell me that even though he is very successful, tell me that this morning when he woke up, right, he had everything that one would want in life. And when he looked in the mirror, he all of a sudden tears just running down on his face, and he don't understand why, right? he already had everything that one wanted. Beautiful family, successful company, having money, the ability to travel the world when he wanted to, having great friends. But despite all of that, they have this inner sadness that he just don't understand why that is. Not until later when he helped working, he helped building happiness studies that he find true meaning in 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 this life. And for me personally, when I hear that story, to tell you the truth, I have no idea what he is talking about because I was like, I don't know. Yeah, I don't get it. Like, why were you crying? But listening to you guys and the discussion of the importance of wholeness, I think what he was missing in his life is one of these five aspects. And potentially it was the spiritual well-being, right? He was doing well physically, super smart guy, so intellectual well-being, he was doing fine. Great businessman with many great relationships, so that is not a problem there. Emotionally, it's very, very happy, very outgoing. So now that I look back and do a quick like spire check-in on his story, I think there's a strong desire of the spiritual well-being, the desire to be whole, and and thinking back to his story, I can connect to that story because there are moments in my life that to be very honest and very open with you, there are times that tears just running down my face and I don't even know why, to be very, very honest. Not a whole lot, but maybe like, a teardrop or two. So I think what is most personal is most common. And I'm sure I feel like everybody had that experience. Some is more traumatic compared to other. So I just want to share that very quickly. That we are on the point of the important wholeness, and I really, really appreciate your contribution to the discussion. And for our Zoom, I would like to limit it to 90 minutes. That way everyone can, like plan their day and their week so we can further this discussion. And we do not have to go through all four of the lecture, right? It's not going to be possible. We just go with the flow. We can discuss what is most important to us. And as many of you have already known, there are like reading material. There are books that we can studies, and then there's like online material. So there's no way that we can go over all of it in 90 minutes, and that is okay, right? We will have many opportunity to circle back to this, and thank you so much for joining us today and for many weeks to come. But I do want to move to the second part of the lecture of 2.2, ultimate currency. This is one of my very, very favorite topic, and me and Giovanni, we discuss this quite often. And when I first learned of it, I didn't think much of it, and I was like, ultimate currency, what are you talking about now? Like, I don't get it. But then when I discussed further with Giovanni, and he breaking the word down, like currency can also mean money, but current can also mean in an energy form. So ultimate currency is just a beautiful word. And I wonder if Tao came up with this or he borrowing this word from someone else. But for me, like right now, I feel like it is such a wonderful and powerful way to describe the meaning of life, right? Because in the physical world, we were taught that you gotta chase that money. You have to make that dollar, that green bill to live a good life. But when we get there, we know that it's only half of the equation. There's other important thing in our life too, spiritually speaking. So ultimate currency can also mean ultimate energy, and we can we could talk about this for days, for months to come. And to that, I would love to invite Giovanni to discuss, to open up this discussion. And I think this is so important that we will talk about it today.
I don't know how deep you want to go here. I just first, kind of want to start off by just making sure that everybody understands a couple concepts before we go into talking about currency and energy and things like that. And it's just science tells us that everything is energy, right? Everything that we see, what we are, what we're made of, how we think, everything is energy. And even inside of an atom, there's light energy inside of an atom. Okay, so all light is the substance of all things. Okay, first of all. So when Tao says, that happiness is the ultimate currency, I completely agree with that concept because the way I see it is that happiness is a form of energy that we can use, or through trying to find it, we have the power to illuminate and transform ourselves and our experience. And what that means is just like how do I put it? Just like light, right? Happiness has we can dispel darkness with it. We could bring warmth with light. We could bring joy to our experiences and to our loved ones. But really, it has the potential to brighten our mind, to brighten our perspectives, for us to be enlightened, illuminated. I go back to think when I used to watch like Looney Tunes and stuff, and Daffy Duck would have an idea, and then this light bulb would go on top of his head, right? That means that the mind is very powerful, and we have to illuminate that substance, that light that's within us. So happiness as a currency means money, yes. It's also an energy exchange. It's the reason why we want happiness to flow, we want money to flow, and we hold our money in banks and rivers that flow. You call them river banks. It's the same as that concept. It's just a different form. So everything is the same thing. It appears to be different, but it is the same form. And all it is for us to understand who we are first as a spiritual being, so that we can really make sense of our reality without the illusions. So I just want to stop there because I see Victoria shaking her head, and I know Victoria has a lot to say about this stuff. And today I just really wanted to listen, but Ben's calling me out, so I'm just going to leave it at that, because I just think that I can go so deep and we can get lost and we don't have enough time.
It seems that we want to talk about spirituality today, and then the conversation is going very deeper and deeper, and it's really very, very meaningful and satisfying for me, because I can't find, as Giovanni mentioned, we need to find the reality without being influenced by illusion. And unfortunately, with our deeper thinking and investigation, we are deceived by our own delusion, because we normally think that, okay, all that we see is reality. But in fact, it's not true. What we see is just a mere illusion projected by our mistaken mind. So when we can go deep into yourself and get rid of what we normally believe, then we can find the truth. For example, we normally think, okay, money is going to make me happy. So because of this belief, which is partly true, because money is very important, currency is very important, but it's not all. And then material currency, such as the job, such as a house, such as a reputation, all these things can convert into material currency, right? And into something that is tangible in our life. And all our life, most of us, without coming across and understand during this happiness study, we normally think, okay, money is very important. And then we spend all our life, all our energy into pursuing the material benefits, material currency. And then we are wasting our life because our life is very limited. We can live up to maximum is 120 years now. Maybe I don't think that is anybody can live longer than that. And at the same time, we can maybe 180 years, 60 years, even 40 years, even tomorrow. So if we never come across the concept of death, then we just deceive ourselves. We just run after purchase, after what we believe that make us happy, which is money, which is material, tangible, valuable things. And we neglect one of the most important aspects in our life, which is the spirituality. And spirituality, just as Giovanni mentioned, is the foundation of everything. Our material life is founded upon our spirituality. And without that root, it's just like a tree. A tree, normally we don't see the root, but what is the most important part of a tree is its root. It's not its fruit. It's not its fruit. It's not its flower. It's less its branch and trunk. Okay, but it is the root. And the root, the main root is our meaning, our understanding, our correct view of reality. And if we don't have a correct view, if we deceive ourselves with our delusion, thinking, okay, I only need to spend my life to make money, then we neglect all the other aspects and we wasting our life in a wrong direction. So spirituality is, for me, is to finding the meaning, finding who we want to be, what you want to spend, how you can design your life so that you can spend 120 years of your life meaningfully. And it's not enough, because you need to be aware that life is so unpredictable. We may die at any time. Actually, one of the awakening in my life is that I keep contemplating about death, my own death. In our society nowadays, we avoid talking about death and we push it away. Whenever somebody is dying, we just, it's the end of the world already. We never learn enough lesson from somebody's passing away. My dad passed away a few years ago. For me, it was the greatest lesson I learned. And I feel that, okay, I'm thinking, if I am dying tomorrow, what I need to do today. So having that perspective helped me to make priority in my life, to focus my energy into what is most important. So whatever happened tomorrow, I want to regret. That is very important, because no matter what you achieve in your life, but at the same moment, like the example that Ben mentioned just recently, the successful businessman, he have everything already, but looking himself into the mirror, he just cried and he feels so misery, because why he has not found, he has not touched his core meaning, that what he really want deep inside in his heart, which is the need to be connected, to give away what he have gained, to give back to the community and do something bigger than his limited self. That is what we need to do, because we all have those moments come into our life. Now we are not aware, but maybe later when we are sick, when we are on our deathbed, or whatever it is, it will come to our mind. So that's why we need to focus on our spirituality, and we need to do meditation a lot, so that it can help us to go deeper into ourselves and then go beyond, transcend. I need to use the word transcendental. We need to transcend our own thoughts, our limiting belief, and also our grasping to our pleasure, emotion, pleasure thing in life, so that we will have a bigger view. It's just like we are facing the mountain. We cannot see much. We don't have vision, so we need to step back We need step back. And one way to step back is to just quiet, calm, still our mind, because our mind running like a horse. It's never stop. We are blow like a balloon. We are blown in the wind by our thought. We never stop. So we need to stop. We need to calm down. We need to go back to home, as Giovanni mentioned. Our own home is inside our heart. Through what? Through our breathing, through meditation, to quiet down and then to relax. That is very important. That's why Thr mentioned about stress. He said stress is not a problem. The problem is not know how to rest. That is the problem. We all have a stress, and some regards, stress is beneficial because it motivates us to reach higher. But at the same time, if we cannot control stress by knowing how to rest ourselves and how to control the stress, then we are in big trouble. So all the things we are very confused. We are controlled by our illusion. That is very important. Giovanni mentioned about that. But we are not aware of that. We are not aware of a miserable situation. And really, we need to take a deep breath and come back to our home, our own self, the source of true peace and happiness. And from there, we can open up like a flower, like a tree, to give back, to contribute to the world with beauty, with love, and with prosperity. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. I love how Victoria and Giovanni tie everything to the illusion of external goals in our life. So many people believe that external marker of success, such as wealth and fame, will lead to happiness. But obviously that is not true, right? Because the pursuit of those goals lead to disillusionment and unhappiness as they fail to fulfill deeper spiritual, relational, and emotional needs. So that is a struggle that we see in life, and that is something that I myself have struggled in the past. So the reality of success and happiness is that highly successful individuals, despite achieving external acclaim, they often struggle with depression and emptiness when they realize that material success does not guarantee happiness. And this highlights the importance of pursuing happiness as a holistic well-being rather than relying on external achievement or achievement. And that is one of the point that I really want to make in this lecture, the 2.2. And if you remember, if you follow the 2.2 lecture, how in this lecture, Tao brought up the story of Nelson Mandela, the president of South Africa. I don't know if he's still president, probably not, but he was one of the president of South Africa, and he stayed in the prison for I believe 27 years, right? Even though the government at that time offered to free him, offered to give him a mansion, right? Not a house, a mansion, offered to give him a lot of money if he could just give up the idea of starting like a rebellious revolution. But he didn't choose that. So when we use the spiral model to look at his situation, right? Physical well-being, he wasn't in a good shape, right? He lived in prison, so he had very little, right? So he might be in pain, but he wasn't suffering. Intellectual well-being, I think he was doing all right. Relational well-being, he had relationship, like high quality relationship with many people because he was seen as a leader. So even though he stayed in like a jail cell, he still have like doing pretty good when it comes to relationship, intellectual, and I guess emotional. He had to endure some of the negative emotion. But what keeps him going is his spiritual well-being. He is so committed to his cause that he willing to go through the pain and the suffering to elevate his spiritual well-being. And this is extremely important point I want to bring up, because for different people in life, they will have different importance part of this happiness as whole being that they want to focus on. So understanding that it is okay to focus on one out of the five, or to me, one out of the six. But at the same time, though, for me, I think Nelson Mandela would better off if he work on all five or six of this element at the same time. And I see Jasmine just turn on his video, her video. I would love to give her the opportunity to talk if she wanted to. If not, um, we can continue in this conversation. Yeah, I think it is important that we talk about it, discussing the importance of the five element in different setup, maybe personally, maybe or out there. But go ahead, Jasmine.
Thank you, Ben. Hello, everybody. I just want to connect off the point that I heard from Giovanni and Victoria, and connect to the whole being and the ultimate currency. I really love the fact that Giovanni remind me about the flow of energy or the flow of money. But lately, I have that problem occur with me as well. I don't have problem with money, but I have problem that people, borrow money, or I lend people money, and then if I say no, then my money got stuck. It's kind of interesting how that works. Uh, and so it's kind of like, it's good that you remind me that the flow of money, even though I know it, but I still wanna be like stubborn, don't want to lend people money, or like I want to ask people money for my money back, but not knowing that money is a flow, or like energy is a flow. um so like if I lend people money and they don't return my money back, it doesn't mean that I lost the money. It can mean that somebody else, or like other chain, the money will come back to me in another form, or thing like that. So that kind of unlocked my, just a reminder. It's kind of like a push for me to not uh get stuck with the money, like the physical money part, and the energy part. um and for Victoria, when Ben mentioned about the five spy, last night I was learning the yin and yang, and the five element. um like the five element in yin and yang, like Lao Shu five element. And five element has so it had like water, fire, earth, uh, metal, and something else. So that five element is also related to five flavor. So so when you put the five spy, like spiritual, intellectual, thing like that, it all have the connection, and so that the flavor as well. Um, like if sour can go against sweet, but together it can create balance, or like if somebody who eat too much sour, but the spiciness can reduce the sourness. I did not know that. I did not pay attention in that style. But Ben mentioned about us, like the five spy that Victoria mentioned, and it should click with the information that I learned last night. Because everything has balance, and something, if it's like over acting, then something else will be born to to reduce the other one, to make everything balanced. So this means that in life, if we don't have the 5 elements, or if we don't follow the 5 spine, um, and we have too much of one thing than the other 4, or like too much of the 4 thing than the one thing that we don't have, that create an imbalance in ourselves, our life, and it will create tension, like Nelson Mandela like Ben mentioned. And so it's just talking about this, and then connecting all the point that I learned personally in my life is another reminder for me to stay balanced. If one is not balanced, then people keep coming and telling me something, or like side happen and appear, or like thing happen around my life that just remind me that, hey, there's something that you need to to remember, or like to double check that could be the stop. And when the flow is not flowing, it's kind of like the rock, something that's small, or like a belief that I still wanna withhold and not release, like the money part, then that will create a stop. It's kind of a block in, blocking the ultimate currency, like the energy to flow, and that could create a tension in my life, and that could create a problem in the life, like the money part. And so yeah, so that is my connection, uh like for the whole time that I listened to all 3 of you and everybody else. Thank you so much. That's it. Thanks for
Thank you,
listening.
Jasmine. That would be an entire discussion if we were to go to that 5 element, because that is very, very powerful, that I would love to discuss as well. I see Giovanni and Mills Mike. Feel free to jump in,
I
Giovanni.
just want to say, Jasmine, well, first, to Victoria's point is, I do the same thing for the past 7 years. Every night before I go to sleep, I always say thank you, as if it was going to be my last time waking up. And that has done something to me. So definitely thinking about death all the time makes me appreciate life. Secondly, to Jasmine's point, I have given away so much money to people who needed it, but I always told myself that they just need it more than me. And whenever I lend money or give money to people, either one or two things, I don't expect it back most of the time. I like to be surprised. So if they give it back to me, I'm surprised, because I don't need it. Because once you start thinking like, when are they going to give me my money? Your brain starts to tell you that you're lacking money. And then you can't really be abundant if you're lacking money, right? So right now I have all the abundance I want. So that's all I think about, my abundance. So I want to make money so I can give all of my money away, so I can keep getting money, so I can keep giving it away. Because just like love, we give to re-give. That's the foundation of the flow. So just keep that in mind, whenever you do that. And then I also tell myself that lending money is probably the easiest way to get rid of people with lower energies, because they will avoid you really quick. I mean, if you just ask them, hey, where's my money? You probably won't hear them again for like another 2 years. So just let it go, let it go, and just focus on what you have in front of you, your abundance, and that's it. So
Such a quick response. I got goosebumps when you said earlier. I got goosebumps. That's it. Thank you.
It's a lot of wisdom coming from Giovanni. I really love that. And it's so true. There's one lesson that I learned from in this life is that when you give, you receive. You might not receive from that person, but you receive tenfold from some other source. So I love your perspective of how that person probably needed more than you, and
yeah,
if you can just give it to them. But at the same
yeah.
time, though, if it's gonna hurt you, then you should consider, right? Because you have
Well,
to
well,
prioritize.
Well, Ben, it's the same thing with love. I mean, the way I see money, to me, money is like love because, if I'm going to give people money, I'm doing is giving them love, and all I know is that the world is going to give me love back. That's the way I see it. So I don't expect them to love me back a certain way because that's a condition. Love is unconditional. So listen, if you need it more than me, I have love right now to give. I will give you love because I know that the world always looks out for me. I am abundant and I always get unconditional love in return. So it's definitely an energy exchange. And the way that you think about money is the way that money is going to appear in your life.
Yeah, that's exactly how I roll in my journey because it's kind of like, we learn about journaling, writing down negativity, um, block. And I did, and I asked myself question because I had learned more about finance and money in my life than this inner self and happiness. And so um, I knew all of this, but it was still my block. So I feel like I have encouraged today to share publicly with everybody because for some reason Giovanni just mentioned about money and the flow of money today, and I feel like maybe I should call someone else because I knew she had the ability to give me an advice, but why not talk about this in the Zoom? Um, and I feel like I received a key from Giovanni, and I absolutely agree with you that if people need love, we should give them love because we have love, like I have love, or like the money part. If I don't have the money, yes, I can say no, but if I have somewhat, I can share. And yeah, okay, I received that message. Thank you.
Uh, I love that, and the journey toward happiness is a journey that we walk together, and I love how Tao put it. You keep telling us you just call him Tao, and how he is a fellow journeyer too. So in this journey, we are each other fellow journeyer, and I love it so much that I decided to host this platform. And I thank you so much for joining me because this conversation is indeed full of energy and enriching, as Teresa put it in the chat. And there will be many more great conversations to come. We have about 13 minutes left, and I really want to talk about the indirect approach to the pursuit of happiness before we end, because it is so important. It is such an important point in this week lecture, and I think we should discuss a little bit on this. And one thing that I find fascinating when I hear Tao talk is the example of the pursuit of happiness is like looking at the sunlight, right? It's gonna hurt your eyes if you do the direct approach. But if you can just uh, use that sunlight to through a prism to break it down to the seven beautiful color of the rainbow, then you can appreciate it. You can see it for what it is, and you can approach it with the indirect way. And I think that is so powerful, super powerful, because this does not only apply to happiness, but I feel like it's also applied for every other element in the spiral model. Let's say spiritual well-being, for example. We have talked about spiritual well-being today. I feel like the path to spiritual well-being is also an indirect path, because if you constantly talking about, oh, I want to cultivate spiritual well-being, I want to have this enlightenment moment or awakening moment, you're not going to get there. Based on my experience, I've been there, and the second that I wanted that, I actually distanced myself from it. So the indirect approach is such a powerful approach, not only to happiness, but to many things in life, right? Just like the example that Jasmine mentioned earlier about money. The path to earning a lot of money is actually the indirect approach. Just think about it, right? Looking at millionaire and billionaire, they didn't chase after the money. They chasing their dream. They work really hard to materialize their dream, and money is the byproduct. So the indirect way is a very powerful way, and I would love to hear your thought on this because for me personally, I feel like this apply to everything else in life. So we do have 10 minutes. Feel free to go first or second, but we do only have 10 minutes, guys.
I want to share something about what Jasmine just mentioned about I think one of her interesting point she pointed out is the connection between our spirituality and our experience, or in other words, our inner world and our external world. Because money actually is just a reflection. Money, relationship, the five spy element, intellectual health are just reflection of our mental state, actually, for me. And then, for example, when we are abundant in our thought, our life, our external life will run very smoothly. Okay, so it's very important that we have a positive, and the reason why Tan teaches we need to develop positive thought. Why? We need to understand why we should develop positive, cultivate those positive state of mind instead of letting control out by our up and down, and even most of them are negative state of mind. This is because there's a strong relationship between what we think and what we feel, what we think, our normal, our psychological state, and what we experience in our life. So when we are abundant, why we need to develop generosity and abundance thought in our mind? That is because we want our life to be abundant. We want to have a lot of money. Nobody, for me, I want to have a lot of money, to be honest. But I don't, why I want to have a lot of money is not because I want to possess it and I want to be powerful. No, I want to, okay, if I can live an easy life. I don't want to struggle in making money, because struggling making money to earn a life spend a lot of time, waste a lot of time for me. And then if I have abundance in my life, then I don't have to have a financial worry. So that's why I can focus on my health and other things, and to be able to help more people. So that is the state of mind that we need to adopt. But at the same time, sometimes in our life, some people just come and ask, okay, I need your help, and normally they ask for money, right? Because they think very simple, they need money to support their life and their loved one, and the most simple means for them is to have money. So giving our money is easy, but what is more difficult to give is help them to understand how money can help them and what is the limit of power. They cannot ask for giving money all the time. And nobody, even the richest person in the world, if he keep giving and they keep giving, but it's not enough, because our greed, our human greed is bottomless, is unlimited. We give them today 1 million, tomorrow they come back, they want 2 million, and they want more and more and more. And we have no way to satisfy their thirst. It's just like drinking salty water. The more you drink, the more you get thirst. Okay? So we need to stop giving them money and instead giving them true love and care. That's what I have done all in my life. I never regret 1 second. I always focus my energy, like spending time caring for my family, for what I really love. I don't care what other people tell me, okay, what is it? But when my heart go, I go after it. And I give full love to them. And that is what they might complain, okay, I need money. But I explain to them what the money is for. Of course, we all need money To some extent, I can invite you for lunch. I can invite and give you something when you are in real need for material help. But material help is not sufficient. It's very limited. So we need to educate them how to make a living. And the best way to earn our life is to learn to overcome our wrong conception, to overcome our illusion of life, illusion that only money can make me happy and I only need money in my life. So that is the key point. And that we need to awaken ourselves first in order to be able to kindle the light in other people. And then it took me almost my whole life to come to this point to realize that, okay, all I need now is I need to become somebody to inspire other people. And in order to be able to inspire others to live their life positively and healthily, I need to do it on my own. And that's what only I do. Very simple thing. Improve myself my best. For what? In order to benefit
ไง
others.
เรื่อง
Because
หลายๆ
always
มากกว่าน่ะ
okay. I think that's enough for me. And then I think that's basically the idea is that to control our state of mind, positive state of mind. And if they come, and we need to be very clear, giving them money is not helping them forever. So of course you can have practically as much as you can. But the more important and the more valuable thing you can have people is to educate them and give them love. That is more important than anything else in this life. Even that they don't know, they are not aware of that, but from outside, we are happy and we know that is the best we can do for them and for others.
All right.
I
Thank
I
Victoria. Go
agree.
ahead, Giovanni.
I agree with everything Victoria just said. I want people to kind of think about why it's important to think about positive thoughts all the time. If there were no humans on this earth, right, where would the negativity be? There would be zero negative. There will be zero hurt. There will be zero pain. The only difference between us and other animals is our thinking mind. So that tells me right there that this negative, this is all in our head. We need to fix that, and that's what neuroplasticity tells us. That it's all about practicing. I love that, Ben. By the way, it's all no pressure. It's all about practicing. Changing our negative thoughts, because this is how we were taught to believe that we're supposed to think from growing up. So we have to change our whole belief system, because a lot of things that we do believe, we don't really believe them. We just think that we believe them. When you really start doing the spiritual work. And what I want to leave everybody with is just think about who you are when you don't have anything, when you have, no titles, no labels, no relationships, nothing, right? And Ben, that 12 years ago, I spent 12 days in my car sleeping. I was homeless, and now I'm in my house that I built, and I'm building a pool. And it's because your mindset, your thoughts make up your reality, right? And the more positive thoughts, the more continuous your positive thoughts are, then you'll start seeing that the world will start giving that to you. And the reason why you're having negative or lack of money and stuff like that in your life is because of how you think about money and your life. So really, we all have the power to take our own lives in our hands, and all we have to do is just think differently and think better at a higher octave, at a higher vibration, higher energy, and just keep thinking that way.
Beautiful, Giovanni. And I just want to see how you would talk under pressure, and you did amazingly. So appreciate that. And I love how you are so conscious about your surrounding, because if it was me, I wouldn't even see the clock running, but you actually saw it and you recognize it right away. And I love the conversation today. And like I say, we like to keep it within 90 minutes. And as you can see, we didn't even get to the third presentation or the lecture on the 2.3. And I just want to read quickly on the chat. Lan said that happiness is a journey, not a destination. we have experienced and enjoyed each moment of our happiness journey by taking action. And I love that, it is indeed the journey. It is the indirect approach. And we have to enjoy the journey, not just the destination. And I really appreciate that indirect approach. Judith also said that she had a presentation on Monday on the ABC club on money and happiness. So wonderful. You can also access those material. And unfortunately, we have to end here for today, but there will be many discussion, many conversation to have in the future on Saturday. And I would like to thank you so much for participating in the second week of the journey of the following the certificate in happiness study, the June cohort. And I'm so appreciative that we kind of don't have a lot of people at this time because we can talk freely, but just for future references, when more people are joining, I want to be more structured where we might have to like raise our hands so everyone have the opportunity to talk. And I'm thinking about implementing the 3 minute or 5 minute to talk. That way everybody have the opportunity to talk. I think that will be important later on because when we have more people, I think it is important to be fair. That way people would come back for it so they can talk to rather than just listening. So I just want to mention that very quickly, even though I love hearing myself talk, right? I love to hear your input too. But most importantly, we want to hear other fellow journeyer as well, because their perspective might very well be our blind spot. So thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for asking questions, like what Jasmine did, because thanks to her question, I understood the ability to give to those who might need it a lot more than I do. And this conversation is wonderful. This is exactly why we are doing it. And once again, thank you so much for joining us today. And as always, I would love to go out with the song. So please take care of yourself and have a wonderful weekend. Bye bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.